So we have covered up to Lord Curzon, and I told you from next video onwards we'll be starting with Partition of Bengal and basically freedom struggle, right? So you can consider this as the second phase of freedom struggle if you start, or if your understanding freedom struggle is from 1857 onwards, right? So when you say freedom struggle, it is basically from 1857, right? Because the first attempt to get freedom was 1857 revolt. So you can consider Partition of Bengal and Swadeshi Movement and associated developments as second phase, okay? Or from here onwards second phase, or some people will say after the arrival of Gandhi it is a second phase. But anyway, I'm going to continue it as freedom struggle. So we will be starting with Partition of Bengal now. So the topic for today's discussion is basically Partition of Bengal. Partition of Bengal. So in this session we will see what do you mean by Partition of Bengal, okay? So what does Partition of Bengal mean? Then we will see why Lord Curzon decided to partition Bengal. So we will obviously see the nationalist version also, and we will see Lord Curzon's, the then Viceroy's version also. And obviously we will see the impacts of Bengal partition. So what is the most important impact when you discuss? It is nothing but the Swadeshi movement. And what do you mean by Swadeshi movement? It is nothing but boycott of British goods, and Swadeshi goods were actually promoted, okay? Not only goods, when we talk about education, even in case of education also, English education was boycotted and Swadeshi education was promoted. We will come to all those things, and a lot of Swadeshi schools were established. We will discuss in detail when we discuss about the impacts. First, let us understand what is Partition of Bengal mean. Now, what are the general questions asked? Okay, basically the framework or basic framework that we are going to discuss is, you need to see what are the causes, obviously, and we need to see the nature of the movement, okay? Then the salient features of the movement. Then we will obviously see the outcome, and that's what exactly we have discussed earlier, impact, okay? So we will see outcome of the movement. So all these things will be covered. So here I am actually talking about Partition of Bengal. So here I have confined to Swadeshi movement. So the question based on Swadeshi movement, it can be causes, it can be the nature of movement, it can be the outcome of the movement or impact of the movement. We will discuss everything in the next 20 minutes, okay? Now, what was the cause? Why Bengal was partitioned? See, if you remember in the discussion of Lord Warren Hastings, okay, I have discussed a question with you. I told you it's a very important mains question. Warren Hastings period in history is known as trial and error period, right? And I have given you questions, discuss, comment, and I have given you the answer also. And when we discussed about the answer in the introduction, I told you Bengal at that time comprised of huge area, right? Bengal comprised of obviously present day Bengal, Bangladesh, okay, then Orissa, Jharkhand, Bihar, okay, such a huge territory. So what was the version of government, or what was the version of Lord Curzon? See, Bengal was such a huge territory and it is very difficult for administration, okay? So for administrative purpose, they are going to divide Bengal, okay? And they divided Bengal. Bengal was divided into East Bengal and Bengal, okay? So don't make any mistake by writing this as West Bengal. Now it is West Bengal, but at that time East Bengal and Bengal. Now East Bengal with the capital Dhaka, okay, and Bengal with the capital Calcutta, okay, Bengal with the capital Calcutta. So East Bengal, obviously mostly the people were Muslims. We are coming to that, but for time being you just understand Bengal was divided into East Bengal and Bengal. So what was the government version? What was the reason for dividing Bengal? Bengal was huge in area. It's a very big province and it is very difficult to administer from one center. So what Lord Curzon said, okay, Lord Curzon stated that division of Bengal was due to large size, and that is making it very difficult for administrative purpose. Difficult for administration. So the reason for dividing Bengal is actually the difficulty in administration, and that's the government version. And now obviously nationalists have a different version. So what is the idea of nationalist? They claimed or they argued it as a policy of divide and rule. Okay, so they said this as divide and rule policy. Now why they felt so? Because at that time, if you see, Congress was established in 1885, and from there onwards a lot of nationalist activities were taken place, and mostly in Bengal. So when we say nationalist activities, from British point of view, it is anti-national activity or anti-British activity. So Bengal became the hub of anti-nationalist activities, and all these Congress leaders started criticizing all government policies and versions, right? So the government want to divide Congress also. Okay, so that government want to create a division, and even Curzon said that he want to see Congress as dead. Okay, so from that itself it can be implied that this is actually a policy of divide and rule. Now why they did this? Because when you are dividing Bengal into East Bengal and Bengal, what will happen is actually in East Bengal all the Muslim elites will go. Okay, so East Bengal mainly comprise of Muslims. So the eastern elites, mainly Muslims, they confined to Dhaka, and others they were in Calcutta. Now if you see whether the people supported the division, see, people of East, that is the Muslims, actually supported this division, but people of West, they are not in support of the partition of Bengal. So they are predominantly Hindus, so they oppose partition of Bengal, but Muslims supported partition of Bengal. Now one point, if you see Dhaka, here only Muslims, mostly Muslims, and all the people are speaking one language, that is Bengali. Okay, so people are speaking one language, Bengali language. But if you see Calcutta now, if you see the Bengal, mostly Hindus, but there are further divisions on the basis of language. Okay, so if you observe, people speak Bengali, some people speak Bengali, okay, and some people speak Hindi, and some people speak Odia. Okay, some people speak Odia. So people speak 3 different languages in this region. So firstly, they created a division between Muslims and Hindus. Secondly, within Hindus, there is a division on the basis of language. Odia speaking people, Hindi speaking people, and Bengali speaking people. So earlier Bengali speaking people were in majority when the Muslims were also with them, when the people in the East Bengal was also with them. Now the Bengali speaking people in Bengal became a minority. So what happened is, they started thinking that they are having lesser seats compared to what they are supposed to get. So this is the most important problem that you can observe here. Now the people in Calcutta, the Bengalis in Calcutta, they started believing, or they started thinking, that they are getting less government seats than what they deserve to get. So obviously issues were created within Hindus between 2 language people. It's like Bengalis and Hindi speaking people, Bengalis and Odia speaking people, or Bengalis on one side and Hindi and Odia speaking people on the other side. So issues created because of this partition. Now if you observe here, British did not created any differences. The differences is already there. The difference are there, like Hindu-Muslim divide is there, the difference is there. Hindi speaking people, Odia speaking people, Bengali speaking people, that difference is also there. That's a part of our culture. So the differences are there, but Britishers created a situation that one section of the people started believing that their existence is in crisis because of the other section, or they are getting lesser benefit because of the other section, or one section is becoming a threat to the other section. So Britishers created this situation in India through this division. So now if you see the issues not only between Hindu and Muslim, there is issue between Bengali speaking people and Hindi and Odia speaking people. So both religion and language created issue now. So it's a clear-cut strategy of divide and rule. That's what the version of the Congress or the nationalist. So obviously the differences were there. Even in medieval times also the difference is there. But what happened in medieval times, there is no such problems, because this Bhakti and Sufi saints, they followed a fusion culture. They adopted a fusion culture. What is that? It's actually a composite culture. Everybody is existing together, okay, without any problem. But now there is a fission of culture. Fission of culture. So now in medieval times, if you see the rulers like Akbar and Jahangir, etc., they promoted fusion of culture. But when British came, they started creating situations where the rift were created between people, between different sections of people. So fission of culture. So British kept Indians divided. Not only divided, they created a situation that one section of the people started thinking that the existence of them is in crisis because of the other section. And people started polarizing to one section. So polarization of one section started. And you can say that led to regionalism, communalism, etc. So in simple language, if you want to put it in simple language, the Congress version is basically the partition of Bengal is their policy of divide and rule, but British version is for administrative purpose. Now, it is crystal clear that British version of administrative purpose is not true. If it was for administrative purpose, they would have divided Punjab also, they would have divided Bombay also, they would have divided Madras also. Punjab was also very big, right? Punjab at that time comprised of the present day Lahore, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, etc. Such a huge territory. So logically, they would have divided Punjab also. Similarly, if you see Madras, Madras comprised of almost entire South India, not only Tamil Nadu. And Bombay comprised of Maharashtra, Central Province, some areas of Gujarat, etc. So that also such a huge territory. So logically they would have divided all these, but they did not divided these regions, right? They only divided Bengal. The reason is Bengal was the hub of anti-national activities in the point of view of English. Now, coming to partition, when was the partition happened? On 16th October 1905. Now, one very important fact which you need to remember is, who was the Governor General when partition was happened? It was not Lord Curzon, it was Lord Minto II. Curzon decided to go with the partition of Bengal, but the person who implemented, or the Governor General who was present at the time of partition of Bengal, was not Lord Curzon, it was Lord Minto. When we discussed about 1857 revolt, I told you Lord Dalhousie made all the reasons, almost all the reasons for 1857 revolt, but when the revolt took place, it was Lord Canning, not Lord Dalhousie. Similarly, during the time of partition, the Governor General was Lord Minto II. Lord Minto I we have discussed when we discussed about 1813 Charter Act. I hope you remember that. And you can see a coincidence here. It's actually after exactly after 100 years another Minto is coming, right? So when we discussed about the previous Minto, we have discussed almost during the same time period, 1807 to 1813, right? So almost during the same time period, Lord Minto II is also coming, exactly after 100 years. So the point is, partition was announced by Lord Curzon. It was implemented by Lord Minto II. So when it was implemented, obviously the people protested against it and they boycotted all the English goods. They assembled at town hall and formed Swadeshi Bandhav Samiti. Swadeshi Bandhav Samiti. So town hall, just because those days that was the landmark to identify a particular place, okay. So Swadeshi, obviously you know, the goods made in India. Bandhav means brotherhood and organization, okay. So they formed a Swadeshi Bandhav Samiti to boycott British goods. Now who advocated this? That is also a fact. Krishna Kumar Mitra. Krishna Kumar Mitra. Now why it is important? See, boycott is not for the first time, but it is for the first time by Congress. So boycott of English good for the first time by Congress. First time by Congress. Now immediately it spreaded to entire Calcutta and urban Bengal. So what happened? All the English goods were boycotted, okay. So English goods were boycotted. So obviously what will happen? Swadeshi goods were promoted. So a lot of industries started coming, and the industries, Indian industries, flourished during this time. And later if you see, many industries and many industrialists and capitalists, they supported the freedom struggle not because they are patriots, but because they are really good entrepreneurs. They realize that if the English is not there, they have a great chance to develop their business, okay. So if you remember, when we discussed about 1813 Charter Act, Okay, so 1813 Charter Act, one of the most important point that we have discussed is end of monopoly except in two items. And the impact of that we have discussed as it led to deindustrialization, because a lot of companies started coming to India from abroad and they started selling their finished products in India, and that resulted into a situation where our artisans' life was ruined completely because their product was not at all competitive with the English goods or the finished goods which are coming from Manchester, Liverpool, etc. Right? The Manchester clothes and Liverpool clothes, which are very famous, and Indian goods are not at all competent with those products. Okay, so the life of artisans was ruined completely because of 1813 Charter Act, and it led to deindustrialization. And as a solution to that, the Swadeshi movement arrived. Okay, so when Swadeshi movement was there, all the British goods were boycotted, at least in Bengal, or at least in Calcutta and urban Bengal, not in other areas. And there was a discussion about spreading this movement to other areas, and that led to the split. Okay, Surat split. We'll discuss about that in detail in the next session. But keep in mind, this was confined to Calcutta and urban Bengal, not across India. So at least in urban Bengal or Calcutta, local industries flourished. Now, not only British goods, education also. If you see, English schools also boycotted. English schools also boycotted, and Indian schools started coming up, and those schools were not like traditional schools. They established modern schools, and they have given education also in English style itself. But the only change is that the Indian honors. So those schools were owned and operated by Indians. So English goods were boycotted, English schools were boycotted, okay, and Swadeshi movements boycotted the courts also. So what happened? Most of the lawyers are Indians. Obviously, judges are English, most of the lawyers are Indians, and most of the lawyers are actually from Congress also. So they boycotted courts. So obviously what happened is the panchayats gained importance. And most importantly, boycotted all the services provided to British colonies. So services given to British. So it was a kind of social boycott. Social boycott, like newspaper, milk, vegetable, fish, etc. Okay. So this is one of the most important point. So I hope you understood what all things we have discussed till now. We just discussed about the causes. So two versions we have seen, and we have seen the boycott, right? So boycott of goods, boycott of schools, courts, and services given to the British. Now, when you discuss about the features, you have to talk about uniqueness of the movement, You have to discuss about the class composition, and you need to see how the leaders mobilized the masses. So whether it is on the political lines or on the religious lines, we'll discuss about that. We'll come to that, and that's one of the criticism also. Okay, so mobilization, how the mobilization was done, and what the trends emerged. Okay, so what are the trends emerged? So these are the things that we are going to discuss now. Now, the most important point is this is the first mass movement under Indian National Congress. So first mass movement under Indian National Congress. And the other point which you can say is, it is not just a elite movement. Many sections like teachers, students, lawyers, politicians, women, even vegetable vendors, newspaper vendors, okay, milk vendors, everybody participated. So common people were actually participated in this movement. So it's not just elite movement. Another important point is the leaders used religious and cultural symbols to mobilize the masses. And this we will discuss as a criticism also, because this led to alienation of one section of the people, that is Muslims. The reason is, like they used Durga Puja, Ganesh festival, etc. Especially Bal Gangadhar Tilak, when we speak, he used Ganesh festival, right? So in Bengal, if you see, Durga Puja and Raksha Bandhan is very important and very famous, and it is very difficult to mobilize people on the basis of political lines. People are not much aware. Okay, so it is very easy to mobilize people on the lines of religion, and people are ready to do anything for religion. So the intention of the leaders were actually good. They want to mobilize the masses, but the way they did it is by using religion was not that accepted by many people. So when you mobilize people on the basis of Durga Puja, etc., the intention was to bring more people so that in the next day newspaper you will see 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 people assembled. But they actually came for Durga Puja. But at least you can say that this much mobilization was there. Now what is the criticism? These leaders forgot the aspirations of minority. Minority means I'm talking about Muslims. So Muslims turned against this. They felt that they are alienated. So the intention of leaders was good, but the outcome was bad. So what is the objective of nationalists? They want to invoke nationalism in the minds of the people by mobilizing them on the basis of religion. Then only people will come. But Muslims, they got alienated. And if you see, separatism in India is actually started from here. Now, one more point is, Tagore wrote a very famous poem for uniting Bengal, Amar Shonar Bangla. It means our golden Bengal. And today it is a national anthem or national song of Bangladesh. So actually Tagore became two national anthem. Now, what are the criticisms? Let's quickly look at the criticism also. The idea was basically to unite Bengal, but Muslims were alienated. So, important criticism is Muslims alienated. The reason is mainly because of the religious symbols or the cultural symbols. Okay. Now, secondly, I already told you it was confined to Calcutta and urban Bengal. So, it was not reached to the rural areas. Okay. So, it was confined to urban Bengal. So it was confined to urban. Now for the rural peasants, Congress was actually a supporter of zamindars because Congress party was dominated by zamindars. Okay, so rural people were not involved in this, and Muslims of eastern part did not participate. Now all these issues created difference between moderates and extremists. So we will discuss that separately in the next video. What was the issue between moderates and extremists and how it resulted into Surat split. So moderates just want to confine it to Calcutta or in Bengal, but extremists, they want to extend it to other parts of India, but moderates were not ready. So that led to the split. We will be discussing about that split in the next video. And before I end this video, I want to discuss one more point which I have missed out under Lord Dufferin. This is not the context for discussing that particular point, but since I have missed it under Lord Dufferin and there is a possibility of getting a question, I am discussing it. Okay, so it is actually Aitchison Commission. You just need to know what is it and what was the recommendation, who appointed this, that's it. Okay, so what was this commission? It is a public service commission. Public service commission. So you should not have any confusion if you get a statement like it's a commission related to education, or it's a commission related to famine, or it's a commission related to election. You should not have any such confusion. Okay, so it's a public service commission under Sir Charles Aitchison. Okay, Charles Aitchison. Now who appointed this commission? I already told you, Lord Dufferin. Okay, Lord Dufferin in 1886. Lord Dufferin appointed in 1886. Now the important points. So let me discuss it quickly. So the first point is, he rejected the idea of simultaneous examination for covenanted service. Okay, so rejected the idea of simultaneous exam for covenanted service. He also advised abolition of statutory civil service. Then next is, he proposed the setting up of provincial civil services. Provincial civil services. Now this must be separately recruited. Okay, this must be separately recruited either by promotion from lower ranks or direct recruitment, like we follow even now also in our states, right? So either direct recruitment or promotion from the lower ranks. Next is, covenanted and uncovenanted service should be renamed as imperial and provincial services. And the covenanted and uncovenanted is actually created by Lord Cornwallis. We have discussed already. So it has to be renamed as imperial and provincial. Now one more recommendation, again very important, maximum and minimum age. 19 is the minimum age, maximum age is 23. We have seen a lot of debate and controversy related to this maximum age, right? So it was 21 earlier and it was reduced to 19 by Lord Lytton, and we have seen a lot of protest, and again Lord Ripon was increased this to 21, basically annulled this provision. Now it was increased to 23 and 19 is the minimum age. Now more and more Indians can enter into the civil services. I hope these points are clear for all of you. These are the points that you need to look into. So if you get a question, Atchison Commission, it is Public Service Commission appointed by Dufferin in 1886, headed by Charles Atchison. These are the recommendations. Rejected the idea of simultaneous exam, advised abolition of statutory civil services. He proposed setting up of provincial civil services, and the recruitment should be done separately, either by promotion or by direct appointment. Then covenanted and uncovenanted should be renamed as imperial and provincial. Then related to age, minimum is 19 and maximum is 23. I hope this is clear for all of you. Next video we'll discuss about moderates, extremists, then we'll discuss about revolutionaries. Then if possible before your prelims I'll try to cover most important events, most important personalities. Then one which I have missed out is Lord Wellesley, Lord Minto. Okay.